Hey friends, I hope that you're so well wherever you are in this now. I'm Jane. If you don't know me, I'm going to be your spiritual guide in this now because fuck it, why not? Um because that's kind of spiritual guide I am. I'm the one that says because fuck it, why not? Yo, we are entering into a legitimately different way of being, a whole new different timeline. I'm sure some of you have maybe noticed that like some things are really starting to crumble. Things are starting to come into the awareness of the collective. I think people are starting to get a whiff of the stench of the system, and not everyone is, right? Like some people are just like, it smells like my Glade plugin. I don't smell anything. Everything is fine. Oh, it's all good. And there are some of us that are like maybe really sensitive to smell, and we've been smelling this shit for like ever. But it's now coming into a timeline where a lot more people are smelling it. A lot more people are becoming aware. So I just want to share my experience, and this may resonate for you. If so, like, please let me know. Otherwise, you can just be like, nope, you're alone in this, and that's cool too. So I have recently had some things come into my awareness that have brought up old, like wounds and traumas and things like that. And the underlying emotions that it's bringing up, I think, are what is preparing me personally for what the collective is potentially going to feel. I am experiencing the deep emotions, the deep feelings that come with experiences of betrayal, of being lied to, having false truths presented, gaslighting, the feeling of what's wrong with me, when others maybe aren't really looking at their own shit. So like kind of like narcissist type of behaviors, but like not in like a completely overweight, but like a super duper covert, like righteous kind of way. It would be the equivalent to like, say you are a part of a church and then you realize that that church is like laundering money, or that priest person is doing really awful things, and you had this belief in it, and they presented themselves as like this, like, I am so good, and you're all a little bit like less than me because you have feelings and you're human, but I'm not. And then you find out that this priest is like doing things or not what they're just not what they're presenting themselves to be. So that feeling of, wow, I looked up to you, I honored you, I revered you, and now I feel betrayed, I feel lied to, I feel taken advantage of. For some, it could lead to this space of like a victim consciousness, like, oh my God, I'm a victim, woe is me. And that can be very triggering to go down a whole other rabbit hole. For me, I've kind of transcended the victim consciousness, and I can also admit when I'm like, oh, like, yeah, I was a victim today, or I experienced victimization. I am not a victim, but I experienced it, right? Like I experienced fear, but I'm not afraid, right? So I am moving through a lot of these really deep realizations of truths that I didn't realize were true at the time that I was living it. So I'm in this now processing the past year of my life that for me was one reality. For me, it was a reality that involved like love and devotion and presence and energy, focus, commitment, clear communication, openness, vulnerability. Like I was in that like completely open heart space. And I believed that that was what I was receiving in reflection, and ignoring all of like the signs that said otherwise. And I feel like that's happening in the collective, or will be happening in the collective, as people start to see the truth, and they'll be like, oh my God, I heard people talk about that. Those were the conspiracy theorists. Or, I had all those little red flags, but I didn't want to believe that my political party would have actually done that, or that those celebrities that I really looked up to and I bought all of their movies or music, that they would do those things, or that the bank that I bank with is actually really supporting these things. Like, we will ignore red flags because we have this deep-seated hope and belief that the heart will actually be the driving force. And sometimes it's just not. And that's not, it's not bad. It's a realization that I think we all get to look at. Find the place of deep understanding, like, well, why is that? Like, why wouldn't they just say that they're doing these things? I mean, I get it if it's illegal, like, duh. But, like, it's kind of like, why can't people just be honest? Right? It's like, why do people have to, like, cheat on people? Like, why do people have to hide things? And it's just because they're afraid to tell the truth because they don't know how to handle the truth for themselves. And I think that I am personally moving through this because I tend to get like cosmic downloads and like earth downloads before like the collective gets them. And I know I'm not the only one. So I feel like I'm doing a lot of this work as like kind of like prep work for to hold space for maybe more people who might go through similar experiences of the feelings of betrayal and the feelings of like, fuck, you got one over on me. Like, damn it, I believed you. Damn, I believed in you, man. When you said those things, I believed that shit. And I'm also really excited about this because, again, for me, it's creating this space where I'm like, oh, I'm like harnessing my discernment. My bullshit meter just got tuned up. Like my ability to see those little red flags and feel a little bit like those words and those actions aren't lining up. Instead of me just being like super forgiving and like, okay, fine, I accept you all these ways. I'm moving now with this new level of discernment and tune up in the bullshit meter to be able to still be like, I love you and I accept you and I'm not interested in playing with you. And doing that from a lot more of a grounded place. Looking at perhaps, like almost like subconscious codependency. So not like that, like over like codependency, but just like the feeling of like, yeah, like a covert. I may have said that the first time, but instead of like overt codependency, like subconscious, like little echoes of it. That probably was a part of it, if I'm honest with myself. And then I think about how do we show up with the system in place. We're codependent on it, right? Like we can't feed ourselves without the system. We can't do what we want to do because what if the system doesn't allow me? Do I have the right certification? Am I going to get in trouble? Is this allowed? Like we legitimately we feel that we have to get all this permission and okay, and like it's like I can't do anything until you say I can. And that happens in so many ways, and just with all relationships, whether it's the relationship with the self, right? Like I'm not going to allow myself to apply for the job until I have this much experience. And it's only like I'm just putting that shit on myself as opposed to just like going for it and trying. The relationship that we have with our friends, our parents, I'm not going to move away and live my best life until until my parents release me. Codependency in friendships. I really want to go out tonight to go see a movie, but I won't go by myself. And like that ends up being it's a form of codependency, and we are like that in so many ways. So coming really independent so that we can become interdependent on each other and with each other, I think is what we're moving into as a collective. So this energy that's been coming in, it's like fast. It's so fast. It's really fast. It's just fast energy coming in, and it's doing a lot of activations, a lot of solar plexus activations, huge heart activation, a lot of the medicine around like the neglected or neglectful father has been coming in. For anyone who's ever been neglected by the masculine, by the vision of God, however that was taught to you, just being neglected by any parent, caregiver, yourself, that medicine is coming in for us to identify and forgive and make peace with, and then learn a new fucking way of being, so we don't neglect or just sit there in judgment or be a fucking victim, right? It's like we got to implement the change, and that's where the quantum leap in the timeline happens. And the other energy that's been coming in is like the fierce mother energy, like the mama bear, the mom that says, no, I'm done with you. Get out of my house. Like, you're too old to be living here now. I'm tired of you sucking on my tit. Go, right? You're a 27-year-old, get out of the house, right? But then there's some of that mama bear energy, like we feel guilty. We don't want to hurt them. So we keep enabling them. So we are, instead of neglect, we're like over taking care of, because we fear that they're going to be hurt, right? Or they're not going to be able to make it without us, which is another form of codependency. So parents even become codependent on their children. We're moving through all of this so we can recognize it, forgive it, make the change, be the change, show up differently, say the no, say the yes, and like really impart these energetic shifts that are happening. And just a heads up, doing this doesn't necessarily feel good. It does. It actually feels really, really, really good. And it also feels in the heart, because it brings up into our conscious awareness maybe ways of being that we have experienced that sucked. Maybe things that happened when we were kids that were like, fuck, I didn't even remember that. I didn't even see my parent as that way, or I didn't even realize that my caregiver was like that. When those things come up into our awareness, that's like the shadow part of us, those wounds and traumas like smacking us in our face. It's intense. Or we can choose to run and hide from it, and that's totally fine. I know many people that are doing that and just like spiritually bypassing that shit and being like, everything is fine, I'm in peace. And I'm like, have fun with that. That's just gonna break your body in like short amount of time. But you do you. Again, you do you. And if you're on like the path of actual ascension, that means you gotta go into the shadow shit. And the shadow shit is what is being brought to light as more light is infiltrating us, the planet, the collective. The veil is lifting. It is dismantling all of the things. So yeah, it's not necessarily comfortable, and it's so comfortable and it's so liberating. It feels so empowering to stand up for ourselves and say, wow, you betrayed me and I will not stand for that anymore. Or, you know what? You did get one over on me. You did. I accept you. I forgive you, and fuck you in your system. I'm going to go over here and play in my own little sandbox, and I'm going to create a whole new community and way of being with like the rest of the humans that are in this frequency, that are in this field of consciousness. You do you. I'm over here playing. So it's this deep energetic movement. So there's a lot of clearing in the physical that's happening. So my invitation is to move your body, and this is interesting the way it's been coming in. It's like, move your body, but don't run away. Don't run, don't run, but it's kind of don't run. It's more like yoga, but like do whatever yoga moves you want to do, and not necessarily class. Classes are great. Dancing, not necessarily like I'm gonna go do the ballet class, but like I'm gonna just move my body and see what comes up, and like let that energy move through us. Being in deep prayer, contemplation, a lot of space for contemplation, giving ourselves space to feel and experience through contemplation what it is that we have been through, what it is we are going through, and then imagine what it is that we're moving into because of all this shit. It's this like multidimensional healing as we look at it from all of these multidimensional perspectives. That's where many of us are. And it takes a lot of focus and a lot of grace and a lot of intention, or a little bit, whatever, to do this. It takes a commitment. That's what it is. It's a commitment, and it's a devotion. And it's a devotion to like, I don't know, health, well-being, life on earth, love, like peace, harmony. I don't know, the fun shit, right? Bliss, euphoria, ecstasy, all the joy ever. And it sucks so bad to do it. But y'all, we're doing it. We're doing it. If you are like looking inward and not bypassing shit, and you're feeling it, and it might feel like ecstasy, and then you might feel like crap-tastic the next minute. but like letting yourself feel it and like go through those stages of the grief of what you believed, grief of the alternate realities that you literally had imagined. You know, if you've ever been in any relationship, right, whether it's in a job or a partner, whatever, you create these images of what you think is going to happen, right? When I get that raise, I'm going to be able to buy this, I'm going to buy that, and I'm going to have this, I'm going to do, and you create this whole reality based on when you get this raise. And then you get fired, or you find out that the company's getting ready to go belly up because the owner is some narcissist that's been hiding all the money problems, right? And so now there's this like, whoa, shit, what just happened? And it's like, I've been blindsided. So there's a grief for the job lost, the grief for not getting the raise, all of this in the now. Then there's a grief for all of that potential that you had created, that was a reality. So there's a grief for that. Then there's a grief for the, how did I not see, right? Not like judging myself, but questioning like, wow, why didn't I see that? And then there's a part of you that's going to say, oh, I did see that. I saw that. I saw the signs. And then there's that, okay, well, good. Now I want to be more in tune with that form of my intuition and not ignore that shit again. So that's when we start moving all of that trauma through this now. And okay, well, what am I going to do with it? I'm going to hone my intuition. I'm going to listen to these signs. I'm going to listen to my higher self. When my friends say something about their energy is just a little off, like it kind of glitches my matrix, I'm going to listen to that and not blow them off. And I'm also going to be the friend that starts to speak up in that way and say, hey, my experience with that company or with this person or with that church, my experience, it felt really uncomfortable to me because of this, that, and the other. You do you, but I just needed to share that and figuring out ways to navigate that where it's not telling someone what to do, but sharing from this really deep, compassionate space of healing and vulnerability and authenticity, staying in integrity to you without crossing lines and boundaries. And we've never done that before. And it's where we're moving into. All that to say, it's where we're moving into. So wherever you are in this now, trust that whatever it is that's coming into your reality may be really uncomfortable and like super high vibe celebratory. It might feel like extreme grief, deep sense of loss, deep sense of grief for past timelines, future timelines that never got to play themselves out, and then a deep sense and resonance of celebration for now this infinite potential of these future timelines that are now going to be created from this now moment and not based on lies and deceit and betrayal and half-truths and images and projections of a reality that never really was. So we're here to imagine and co-create and sovereignly create what we're going to call the future. It's us doing that. The only way we can do that is to be really, really clear on what has been